Unit 1, page 8. Reading.
Persuasion.
We're having a festival.
Brilliant idea!
When is it?
A fascinating, fun festival! Fantastic! Great! Can we join in?
We think it's a great idea too.
It's happening in July this year.
And you can join in.
Even if you haven't got a big nose and funny eyes.
We need volunteers to
Sell programs, look after visitors, act as guides, run the information points.
Can you help? This is what to do.
Find out about the festival on the school website and decide what you'd like to do. Download an application form and fill it in. Easy. Completed forms must be received by the 14th of January. The Festival Organising Group.
You wouldn't wear boots to go running, would you? Make the choice. Ether. Always my choice. Ben Hill, Olympic athlete. Ether trainers from the Carlton Shoe Company. $200 to $250. Order online at www.carltonshoes.org.
Unit 1, page 9. Reading.
A personal message from International Forests. Now you really can save the planet.
You may know that carbon, CO2, emissions are creating the greenhouse gas effect. It may surprise you to know that deforestation affects the planet more than the carbon emissions from every plane, car, truck, ship and train on the planet combined. Forests are carbon sinks. They absorb carbon and help to control the global climate. But 80% of the world's forests have already been damaged or destroyed. Each year, more than 13 million hectares of forests disappear, an area roughly as big as England. To put it another way, a forest area the size of 35 football pitches is lost every minute.
If we want to limit emissions and survive climate change, the destruction has to stop. Without healthy, thriving forests, planet Earth cannot sustain life. They are home to 80% of all terrestrial biodiversity. Tropical forests should be seen as one of the greatest storehouses of nature's diversity on Earth. Of all of the world's land species, around 2/3 live in forests. Many of these rare creatures, orangutans, tigers, jaguars, forest elephants and rhinos, are increasingly threatened by extinction.
If we want to keep these animals and others, the destruction has to stop. Forests are essential to civilizations and crucial for economic development. They offer access to water, agricultural productivity, energy, soil conservation and flood control. Over 1.6 billion people worldwide, that's nearly a quarter of the current world population, depend on forest resources for their livelihoods, and many rely on forests for food, shelter and water.
Forests affect the lives of all our people. Yet while people are dependent on forests, our forests are also dependent on people.
The Environment Minister of the Philippines, speaking at the United Nations Forum on Forests, 9th session, 2011.
If we want to help people live in their forest communities, the destruction has to stop. 2011 was declared by the United Nations as the International Year of the Forest. Let's go forward from there. International Forests works to preserve existing forests throughout the world and plant new ones. Together, we can work for the future of our planet.
Donate now to International Forests' worldwide projects and stop the destruction. You can donate online at www.fao.org. internationalforests.org or send cheques to International Forests, 740 City Road, London N22 6BW.
Unit 1, page 13. Grammar in use.
Hi, everyone. Let's get started, shall we? We've got loads to do.
There are more than 4 of us on the committee, aren't there? Where is everyone?
No idea. Perhaps they've got held up.
Let's talk about what we'd like to see at the festival.
Well, we definitely need lots of music, don't we?
Classical or pop?
Oh, both. Jazz as well. Something for everyone.
And dancing. We must have dancing, mustn't we?
What sort of dancing? Ballet? Not everyone likes ballet, do they?
What about art? Could we have an art exhibition, do you think?
Can I say something, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, we shouldn't forget about children, should we?
Absolutely not. What have you got in mind?
Circus skills. You know, tightrope walking, juggling, walking on stilts.
Brilliant. Kids would love that, wouldn't they?
Hi, guys. I'm late, aren't I? Sorry.
Hey, Rudy, come in. Better late than never.
Unit 1, page 14. Listening and speaking. Activity 2. 1.
Here comes summer, and it's time to pour yourself a glass of summer sun. It's fresh, it's tasty, it's low in sugar, and it's bursting with vitamins. Apple, orange, pineapple, mango, all your favourite flavours. The sun shines every morning with the perfect way to start your day.
2.
Come to for the perfect family holiday. Never camped before? Don't worry. Here at you'll find a home from home. Each modern, spacious tent has comfortable furniture and a well-appointed kitchen with all the equipment you need. Enjoy a swim in our heated pool or a game of tennis on one of our many courts. Try horse riding through the woods, canoeing on the lake, riding a bike beside the river. There's something for everyone at. And at the end of an active day, sit down and relax at the Boathouse, our popular family restaurant. Come to for the perfect family holiday.
3.
What's the best way to look after your teeth?
Brush them morning and night and after meals.
Very good. But did you know that brushing alone isn't enough?
It isn't?
No. Brushing alone doesn't remove the harmful bacteria from your mouth.
It doesn't?
No. To remove harmful bacteria and protect your teeth and gums, you need to brush with...
I do?
Yes, you do. For a fresh, healthy mouth, for that perfect, sparkling smile, brush every day with...
4.
Orange, pineapple, lemon, lime, and juicy watermelon.
Orange, pineapple, lemon, lime, and juicy watermelon.
Orange,
Pineapple,
lemon,
lime,
and juicy
watermelon.
tropical flavor
That
really lasts.
Five.
Keep right up to date with all the latest football news. Get the inside information on all your favourite soccer stars. Have your say. Send in your own match reviews. Vote for Goal of the Month. Play Manager for a Day and choose your very own national team. And in this month's exciting exclusive competition, win VIP tickets and an all-expenses-paid trip to the game of your choice. It's all in... out now. Available now from all reputable newsagents.
Unit 1, page 14. Listening and speaking. Activity 3. 1.
Here comes summer, and it's time to pour yourself a glass of summer sun. It's fresh, it's tasty, it's low in sugar, and it's bursting with vitamins. Apple, orange, pineapple, mango, all your favourite flavours. The sun shines every morning with Sunshine Fruit Juice, the perfect way to start your day.
2.
Come to Riverside for the perfect family holiday. Never camped before? Don't worry. Here at Riverside, you'll find a home from home. Each modern, spacious tent has comfortable furniture and a well-appointed kitchen with all the equipment you need. Enjoy a swim in our heated pool or a game of tennis on one of our many courts. Try horse riding through the woods, canoeing on the lake, riding a bike beside the river. There's something for everyone at Riverside. And at the end of an active day, sit down and relax at the Boathouse, our popular family restaurant. Come to Riverside for the perfect family holiday.
3.
What's the best way to look after your teeth?
Brush them morning and night and after meals.
Very good. But did you know that brushing alone isn't enough?
It isn't?
No. Brushing alone doesn't remove the harmful bacteria from your mouth.
It doesn't?
No. To remove harmful bacteria and protect your teeth and gums, you need to brush with Gleam.
I do?
Yes, you do. For a fresh, healthy mouth, for that perfect, sparkling smile, brush every day with Gleam.
4.
Orange, pineapple, lemon, lime, and juicy watermelon.
Orange, pineapple, lemon, lime, and juicy watermelon.
Orange,
Pineapple,
lemon,
lime,
and juicy
watermelon.
tropical flavor that really lasts. Tropicum.
5.
Keep right up to date with all the latest football news. Get the inside information on all your favourite soccer stars. Have your say. Send in your own match reviews. Vote for Goal of the Month. Play Manager for a Day and choose your very own national team. And in this month's exciting exclusive competition, win VIP tickets and an all-expenses-paid trip to the game of your choice. It's all in Back of the Net. Out now. Available now from all reputable newsagents.
Unit 2, page 17. Conversation focus.
Are you going to be long with the copier, Gustav?
No, I've nearly finished.
What are you printing?
The orchestra rehearsal schedule. Why don't you take your copy now?
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Giorgio! Walk in the corridor.
Sorry, Gustav.
Here's your orchestra rehearsal schedule.
Okay, thanks, Gustav.
We've got a lot of rehearsals, haven't we?
Of course, we have to be perfect.
Oh, look. Wednesday's rehearsal clashes with the jazz band.
Jazz band?
Yes, I've just joined it. It's great. We're thinking of working something up for the festival.
Jazz? At the festival?
Why not, Gustav? The committee is planning to include a professional jazz band in the festival program as well.
Really?
And an indie band.
A what?
Oh, you know, Gustav, a band that writes their own music to their own style. They've been in touch with a brilliant group. Everyone loves them, and lots of people will want to come and hear them. It'll be fantastic.
You mean a pop group at the festival?
Well, kind of a pop group, yes.
I think it will be great to have lots of different kinds of music at the festival.
So do I. I'd really like to hear a great blues singer.
And a swing band.
Yes, terrific. And what about a folk group?
Well, they won't have all that at the festival.
I think they might, Gustav. It won't just be Mozart, Schubert and Bach, you know.
That's right. They've been talking about having lots of different kinds of music.
They're meeting to finalize the program tomorrow.
Hey, Gustav! Where are you going?
To get my laptop, of course. This needs action!
Unit 2, pages 18 and 19. Reading. Classical is best.
From Gustav Hindman to Festival Committee. Subject: Music Program. Dear Festival Committee, the kind of music that we include in our festival is very important, and it is absolutely essential that we get it right. Obviously, the music program must include a wide variety of events that will appeal to many different kinds of people. But at the same time, I feel that the festival should not attract people who do not really know anything about music. I know some people will argue in favor of including pop music, but classical music is far more appropriate. We have the school's reputation for excellence to consider, and we should not put this at risk. The first point is that classical music is superior to any other type of music. It is called classical for a reason. It stands the test of time, and people have been playing it, listening to it, and appreciating it for centuries. They know it is the best. Next, we want to attract a broad audience. With the classical genre, that is no problem at all. There is such a wide variety of music types, composers, instruments, and orchestras within the classical repertoire that we could run a classical program for years and not repeat ourselves. With a range from early music quartets to 70-piece orchestras and everything in between, frankly, we will be spoiled for choice. Having attracted people to the festival, we want them to come to more than one kind of event. The audience for classical music is an educated group of people who will understand and appreciate other art forms. They will be loyal and enthusiastic supporters of other festival events, such as ballet and art exhibitions. The field of classical music contains outstandingly talented musicians. It must be clear to everyone that this is what we need in order to establish a good musical reputation for the festival. I am in a unique position to help here. My uncle conducts a small London-based chamber orchestra. I asked him if he would be able to bring his orchestra to our festival, and he said he would. This is very exciting. The orchestra is well known internationally and has had some exceptionally good reviews recently. I'm attaching some photos taken at the Berlin Festival. I've got some recordings you can listen to as well. Finally, it is important to point out that a classical repertoire is essential for all school students as part of their general education, and especially in helping them to develop a truly discerning taste in music. More than 70% of students in this school play an orchestral instrument, and they will benefit enormously from seeing professional orchestras perform live. Some people will present pop music as being a desirable part of the program because lots of people enjoy it. It is true, lots of people do enjoy it. A tune catches on and you hear it on the radio, on TV, on the internet, and even in the supermarket. You hear it everywhere. Then, suddenly, it's gone. It's only popular for a short time. Pop music has no staying power, and justifiably so. Most of it is not worth listening to more than a few times. People say that there are lots of great pop performers. There probably are, but that's all they are, great performers. The point is that the music has little merit. It all sounds the same. It is basically guitars and drums and not much else. I heard a pop star being interviewed the other day. The reporter asked him how he wrote his music. He said that he couldn't even read music and did it all by ear. What will this type of performer add to the standard of the festival? The point will be made that pop music will attract a larger, younger audience. It's true. The City Pop Festival attracted an average of 4,000 people to most events. I asked the head teacher if we had a space big enough for such a large audience, and she said that we did not. Some people will bring up the idea that pop music is more fun, but this is not an advantage. A young and inexperienced audience will get overexcited and may start to behave badly. I asked the school caretaker if he had ever had trouble with pop concerts, and he said he had, but fortunately not at this school. However, an overexcited audience is definitely something we want to avoid. Somebody might try to make the case that pop celebrities will give the school publicity. Again, this may be true, but we have to remind ourselves that things can go wrong. Celebrities often show off and look terrible. They are notoriously unreliable, cannot keep to a schedule, and may drop out at the last moment. There's every chance that the school's reputation could suffer. I conclude by emphasizing the superiority of classical music and the dependability of classical musicians and the classical music audience. With this choice, the school's reputation and the events are guaranteed. In contrast, pop stars and their fans have little musical education or expertise, and the behavior of both the performers and their audience is potentially a complete disaster. You wouldn't want to risk the school's reputation, would you? I hope you will think over my point of view and feel able to embrace a purely classical program. Best wishes, Gustav, Assistant Conductor, School Orchestra.
Unit 2, page 23. Grammar in use.
Okay, I think we've all looked through Gustav's email.
I don't even know why we're discussing it. It's perfectly ridiculous.
Calm down, Tasha. Gustav is putting forward some serious points.
Well, it's true that we can't put on a pop concert for 4,000 people.
But 1,000 spectators would be perfectly okay.
Can I point out that not all pop fans are badly behaved?
And the pop group we're having is not going to drop out.
I heard from them this morning. They're looking forward to it.
Hang on a minute. Who is this band?
The River Boys. We settled on them last week.
You didn't show up for that meeting on time, Rudy.
So, are we all agreed? We want to include all kinds of music?
Absolutely. We want pop, jazz, folk and classical.
Shall we find out if Gustav's uncle can bring his chamber orchestra?
Yes, definitely. They sound fantastic.
Okay, I'll contact Gustav today and see what we can sort out.
Unit 2, page 24. Listening and speaking. Good morning, gentlemen. Do come in and sit down. How can I help you?
Thank you very much for seeing us, Miss Jackson.
That's quite all right, Todd. What seems to be the problem?
Well, it was me who asked for this meeting, Miss Jackson, and I did so because I am very concerned about the Arts Festival. In my opinion, it's going to be a disaster.
We have a student committee organising the festival, Gustav. Shouldn't you take your concerns to them?
I did, Miss Jackson. I wrote a long and very detailed email to them, and they didn't even consider my views.
Hang on a minute, Gustav. That's not true. We had a lengthy discussion about your email, and I'm afraid we all disagreed with most of your points.
What points did you make in your email, Gustav?
Miss Jackson, the members of the committee are determined to include a pop concert in the festival program. I am absolutely convinced that this is a huge mistake. I strongly believe that such a concert will only damage the reputation of the school.
Really? What's your view on this, Todd?
Well, to my mind, and the committee agrees with me, the pop concert is going to be a very popular part of the festival. We feel that all types of music should be represented. Classical music, traditional folk music, jazz, and pop music.
But we all know that pop fans are always badly behaved. Think of that. As head teacher of this school, you must be worried, surely.
To be honest, Gustav, I'm a pop fan myself, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the River Boys perform. Do you have any thoughts about that?
No, not really. I don't know.
Let's remember this. We elected our festival committee, and we must trust their decisions. As far as I'm concerned, they're doing an excellent job.
Thank you, Miss Jackson.
And I have no doubt whatsoever that the festival will be a huge success. Unit 3, page 29. Conversation focus.
Look at that poster, Mimi. The film club is showing West Side Story next week.
I've never seen West Side Story.
It's fantastic. It's one of my favorite musicals.
It's based on a Shakespeare play, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Romeo and Juliet.
I've seen that on stage. It's so sad. From the start, you know that Romeo and Juliet are going to die.
You still want to watch the play, though?
Yes, of course. You get drawn into the story from the very first words.
That's the skill of an exceptional writer.
I wonder if a Shakespeare play will be included in the festival.
I don't know. I don't think they've arranged the performance program yet.
I'm hoping they might invite a famous author to read and talk about writing.
That would be something new. We've never had a famous author visit the school.
They'll need to find something really good to start the whole festival off.
I agree. If the start of the festival is good, people will want to come to lots of other events.
They could begin with a huge concert.
Yes, they could. But not everyone likes classical music.
True. What about a big brass band then? Or massed choirs? Or a firework display?
They might start off with the River Boys.
The River Boys? How do you know they're in the program?
My sister Lucy told me. She's on the festival committee.
Great! Their last concert started with an incredible drum solo, followed by a brilliant sound and light show. Magic.
Not everyone likes pop music, though.
What about a firework display with a live orchestra, playing Handel's firework music, followed by the River Boys' latest multimedia show with a choral backing group and 100 dancers in front of a specially created stage set.
Sounds amazing. You ought to be on the committee, Mimi.
Too right. I've got all the ideas.
Oh, that's our break over. Come on, it's maths next.
Oh, that's a pity. Thinking about the festival is much more fun.
Unit 3, pages 30 and 31. Reading.
Z for Zachariah. A figure is staring at a spot on the horizon. Looking through a pair of binoculars, this person sees a column of smoke. Frightened by what this could mean, the person watches, day by day, as the column of smoke comes closer.
May 20th. I am afraid. Someone is coming. That is, I think someone is coming, though I am not sure, and I pray that I am wrong. But there is smoke. For 3 days there has been smoke, not like the time before. That time, last year, it rose in a great cloud a long way away and stayed in the sky for 2 weeks. A forest fire in the dead woods, and then it rained, and the smoke stopped. But this time, it is a thin column, like a pole, not very high. And the column has come 3 times, each time in the late afternoon. At night, I cannot see it, and in the morning, it is gone. But each afternoon it comes again, and it is nearer. At first, it was behind Claypole Ridge, and I could only see the top of it, the smallest smudge. I thought it was a cloud, except that it was too gray, the wrong color, and then I thought, there are no clouds anywhere else. I got the binoculars and saw that it was narrow and straight. It was smoke from a small fire. When we used to go in the truck, Claypole Ridge was 15 miles, though it looks closer, and the smoke was coming from behind that. Beyond Claypole Ridge, there is Ogden Town, about 10 miles further. But there is no one left alive in Ogden Town. I know because after the war ended and all the telephones went dead, my father, my brother Joseph, and cousin David went in the truck to find out what was happening, and the first place they went was Ogden Town. They went there early in the morning. Joseph and David were really excited, but Father looked serious. When they came back, it was dark. Mother had been worrying. They took so long. So we were glad to see the truck lights finally coming over Burden Hill, 6 miles away. They looked like beacons. They were the only lights anywhere, except in the house. No other cars had come down all day. We knew it was the truck because one of the lights, the left one, always blinked when it went over a bump. It came up to the house, and they got out. The boys weren't excited anymore. They looked scared, and my father looked sick. Maybe he was beginning to be sick, but mainly I think he was distressed. My mother looked at him as he climbed down. "What did you find?" He said, "Bodies. Just dead bodies. They're all dead." "All?" We went inside the house, where the lamps were lit, the 2 boys following, not saying anything. My father sat down. "Terrible," he said, and again, "Terrible, terrible." We drove around looking. We blew the horn. Then we went to the church and rang the bell. You can hear it 5 miles away. I went into a couple of houses, the Johnsons, the Peters. They were all in there, all dead. There were dead birds all over the streets. My brother Joseph began to cry. He was 14. I think I had not heard him cry for 6 years. May 21st. It is coming closer. Today, it was almost on top of the ridge, though not quite, because when I looked with the binoculars, I could not see the flame, but still only smoke, rising very fast, not far above the fire. I know where it is, at the crossroads, just on the other side of the ridge. The east-west highway, the Deantown Road, crosses our road. It is Route number 9, a state highway, bigger than our road, which is Country Road 793. He has stopped there, and is deciding whether to follow number 9 or come over the ridge. I say he because that is what I think of, though it could be they or even she. But I think it is he. If he decides to follow the highway, he will go away, and everything will be all right again. Why would he come back? But if he comes to the top of the ridge, he is sure to come down here, because he will see the green leaves. On the other side of the ridge, even on the other side of Burden Hill, there are no leaves. Everything is dead. There are some things I need to explain. One is why I am afraid. Another is why I'm writing in this composition book, which I got from Klein's store a mile up the road. By then, the last radio station, a very faint one that I could hear only at night, had stopped broadcasting. It had been dead for about 3 or 4 months. I say about, and that is one reason I got the book, because I discovered I was forgetting when things happened, and sometimes even whether things happened or not. Another reason I got it is that writing it might be like having someone to talk to. And if I read it back later, it would be like someone talking to me. But the truth is, I haven't written in it much after all, because there isn't much to write about. Sometimes I would put in what the weather was like, if there was a storm or something unusual. I put in when I planted the garden, because I thought that would be useful to know next year. But most of the time, I didn't write, because one day was just like the day before, and sometimes I thought, what's the use of writing anyway, when nobody is ever going to read it? Then I would remind myself, sometime, some years from now, you're going to read it. I was pretty sure I was the only person left in the world. But now, I have something to write about. I was wrong. I am not the only person left in the world. I am both excited and afraid.
Unit 3, page 35. Grammar in use.
Quiet, please. This meeting ought to have started 10 minutes ago.
What's on the agenda, Todd?
Well, first of all, tickets, programs, and posters. We need to design them.
Shouldn't we have thought about this before? Coming up with a good design takes time, you know.
We couldn't have discussed it earlier. We've all been so busy.
Who's going to print the tickets and posters and programs?
My uncle can do that. He has a printing firm.
Really? You should have said something before.
I did, several times.
Oh, sorry. I must have forgotten.
We need to recruit lots of helpers.
Absolutely. To sell tickets and programs. To answer inquiries.
And to help during the festival, to show the audience to their seats, that sort of thing.
And to sell refreshments.
We need some application forms for people to fill in and say what they'd like to do. I think I might have mentioned this before.
I can't remember, but it's a good idea. Who'd like to organize that?
Unit 3, page 36. Listening and speaking.
Okay, everyone, quiet now, please. Thanks. Now, there's something really important that we have to do. Really, we should have done this before now.
What's that, Todd?
We must decide who is responsible for what. Look, I've made a chart. Let's get some names down.
Well, as far as music is concerned, Ramon and I have been organizing that.
Yes, and you've done really well, Lucy.
Okay. Music, Lucy, and Ramon. Tasha, how about you?
Well, I'm really interested in dance and drama. You can put me down for that.
It's a lot of work to do on your own, Tasha. I think we need 2 people.
I've thought about that, and I know someone who's very keen to help. His name's Vincenzo. He's Italian. You must have seen him. Tall, dark hair.
I know who you mean. How do you spell his name?
V-I-N-C-E-N-Z-O. He'll be great. You'll see.
Excellent. Now, how about art?
You can put me down for that.
Okay, Rudy, you're responsible for art. That leaves literature. Any volunteers?
How about you, Todd?
Well, I could, but what I'd really like to do is the website. I'm quite good at that sort of thing. I'm interested in advertising, too.
I'd like to do literature.
But you're already doing music, Ramon.
I can do music on my own, it's no problem.
Are you sure, Lucy? Well, okay. Let's move Ramon to literature.
Have we decided who's going to design the tickets and posters? You asked Lucy and Ramon, Todd, but I think they're already pretty busy.
There's a girl who goes to the art club. Her name's Marit. She's from Sweden and she's brilliant at design. I'm sure she'd love to do it.
Okay, let's ask her. How do you spell her name?
I think it's M-A-R-I-T.
Right, I've got that. So that just leaves refreshments and organizing the helpers.
I'd like to organize the refreshments.
But you're responsible for the music program, Lucy.
I know, but most of that's organized already. I could look after the refreshments if somebody helped me.
You know who'd be good at that? Zafira, the Lebanese girl.
Spelling, please.
Z-A-F-I-R-A.
So that just leaves organizing the helpers.
You're the person for that, Todd.
I don't mind helping you.
Really, Rudy? That'd be great.
Well, it looks like we're getting organised. Now, all we need to think about is the opening to the whole festival. It would be great to start with something really spectacular, wouldn't it?
Unit 4, page 39. Conversation focus.
Hey, Kurt. That was a big audience this evening.
Yes, it was great. We nearly ran out of chairs.
I was surprised, weren't you?
Not really. West Side Story is a well-known film with great music and fantastic performances.
And what amazing dancers. How do they move so fast?
Practice, Liam, practice. Dancing is really hard work. Did you see the documentary on TV last night about students at the Cuban National Ballet? Their rehearsals looked really exhausting. Everything has to be perfect.
No, I didn't watch that. I prefer documentaries about events that are happening now.
You mean current affairs?
Yes. I think it's important for people to know what's going on in the world.
Yes, I agree. It's good to be well informed. But some TV programs only tell you one side of things, you know?
Yes, you're right. I watched a program about exploring for oil. Really, it was so one-sided.
Oh, was it? Why?
It gave the impression there was no risk at all in drilling into any part of the earth to find oil, and that pollution is only a small problem. That's just not true.
Yes, I can see that environmentalists might have a different view.
Absolutely. And there are some great documentary films about climate change and its effect on the environment.
Yes, and some fantastic nature documentaries. You can watch animals that you'll never really see yourself, unless you become an explorer.
That's true. What about showing one for film club?
Maybe. Or we could suggest one for the Arts Festival. Tasha has asked us for ideas, remember?
Oh, yes.
Gustav wants us to show a biographical documentary of Mozart because there's a whole concert of his music.
That's a great idea.
Perhaps we could show a series of different documentary films, as well as some feature films. What do you think?
Sounds great to me. Let's get back to Tasha and see what she thinks.
Unit 4, page 40. Reading. Here is a preview and a review of a documentary about using animals in science. Preview.
Sharing the Planet. Animals in Science. Science Channel, 9:30 p.m. Sharing the Planet is a 5-part documentary showing how humans relate to the rest of the animal kingdom on planet Earth. The series as a whole looks at the exploitation of animals and also the great lengths people go to protect endangered species. The programs are presented by Professor Stan Collins, who is a leading expert in the field of zoology. He has travelled the globe, investigating the different attitudes people have towards animals, from ivory hunters in Africa to projects which have been set up in the outback of Australia for the protection of kangaroos and wallabies. In this first episode, Animals in Science, he concentrates on the use of animals in scientific experiments. He interviews the scientists who are convinced that these experiments are necessary and of huge value to the well-being of humans. He also talks to those who are opposed to using animals in this way and will go to great lengths, even breaking the law, to prevent it. This program, which is a serious investigation into the issue, contains some disturbing images and is not for the faint-hearted.
Last night's TV.
Sharing the Planet. Animals in Science. Science Channel, 9:30 p.m. Animals in Science was the first of a 5-part documentary looking at the relationship between humans and animals. This first program was presented by the eminent zoologist Professor Stan Collins, who looked at the way animals are used in scientific experiments. The documentary sets out to give viewers information about how and why animals are used in this way by talking to the scientists involved, and also examining the views of individuals and organizations opposed to the experiments. Professor Collins was a skilled interviewer. When he spoke to people, he didn't bully them or try to put words in their mouth. I got the impression, however, that he was on the side of the scientists if their work was medical research, but he had little time for those using animals to find a longer-lasting lipstick or a super stay-on mascara. If the program had spent more time investigating the use of animals in non-medical experiments, it would have been more balanced, in my opinion. I've always been aware that using animals in scientific experiments went on, though I didn't really know anything about it. The program was very informative, explaining what actually happens and how it is regulated by law. I was interested to find out that scientists involved in this area follow the 3 R's code. This approach centres on replacement, replacing animal procedures with non-animal procedures wherever possible, reduction, minimising the number of animals used, and refinement, improving the experiments so animals suffer as little as possible. The program did include some disturbing scenes of animals in high-tech labs, and I, for one, felt very uncomfortable, even though the scientists explained the crucial nature of the research for cancer and heart patients. Apparently, there are some experiments that cannot be done without animals. Despite it being obvious that the program makers wanted viewers to understand the need for animal testing, those opposed to it were given a voice. The main arguments were that animal testing can be misleading, as an animal's response to a drug can be different to a human's. The stress that animals endure in labs can affect experiments, making the results meaningless, and that animals have as much right to life as human beings. They also said that the argument that animal testing relieves human suffering does not hold water when animals are still being used to test items like cleaning products. Unfortunately, Professor Collins did not ask the scientists to comment on that one. The program ended with Professor Collins speaking straight to camera. He posed the question, if you or your loved ones could be saved from a life-threatening condition, would you refuse treatment if you knew that the drug or procedure was the result of animal experiments? That's a tricky one for most of us, but for those in the program who saw an animal's right to life as equal to a human's, I think I know what the answer would be. The program was very interesting. It was based on thorough research and up-to-the-minute information, and left viewers a lot to think about. As a non-scientist, I didn't feel that it went over my head, and I will certainly be watching the rest of the series.
Unit 4, page 46. Listening and speaking.
Welcome back to On the Box, the programme that looks at the very best of this week's TV. Before the break, we showed you some stunning photos of 17-year-old British dancer Ashley Green. And this evening, we're going to be discussing 9 Months in Havana, a documentary about Ashley's experiences with the famous Cuban National Ballet in the country's capital. Julie, why don't you start us off? What did you think of the programme?
Well, I found it fascinating from start to finish. I think we learned a lot about Havana and about the Cuban National Ballet, and of course about Ashley himself.
What did you think of him, Julie?
I thought he was absolutely charming and also very brave to leave his family in England, to travel to Havana all alone without speaking a word of Spanish, and to survive 9 months training with the Cuban National Ballet. Not easy at all.
Do you agree, Peter? Was he brave?
Well, no, I'm afraid I disagree with Julie. I didn't think he was brave at all. I found him rather annoying, to tell the truth. He seemed to spend all his time complaining. He had no friends, he missed his family, the training was very hard, the weather was too hot. Just one thing after another.
Well, I agree with you up to a point, but he felt so alone. He couldn't communicate with the other dancers.
Well, why didn't he learn Spanish before he left England? If he'd done that, he would have been able to make friends. We were told that he speaks 4 other languages, so he clearly has a talent for it.
I thought the family he was staying with were lovely. They did everything they could to make him feel at home.
I couldn't agree more. And isn't it fascinating to get a glimpse inside a real Cuban home?
Absolutely. What interested me as well was to look behind the scenes at the Cuban National Ballet. How hard those dancers have to train. It's incredible. How many days a week did Ashley train? 5? 6? And how many hours a day? Extraordinary.
Well, if you missed 9 Months in Havana, which was shown last night, it will be repeated next month. And now we move on to a programme which has caused great controversy in recent weeks, and which I know Julie now flatly refuses to watch.
Unit 5, page 51. Conversation focus.
What are you going to volunteer for, Florence?
I'd like to help with refreshments. What about you?
Meeting and greeting people, I think. It'll be more fun and less hard work.
Really, Giorgio? You're not supposed to think about it like that.
Why not? Isn't it a good idea to choose what you enjoy doing?
Well, yes, but... oh, well, I suppose you've got a point.
Look, there's going to be a talent evening. Are you going to audition for that?
No, Gustav is going to audition. He's much better than me. They won't choose 2 violinists.
How do you know? They might.
You've forgotten that my sister Lucy's on the committee. She said they want a variety of performers for the talent evening, not just loads of classical musicians.
Ha! Better not tell Gustav that.
He already knows. They discussed it in the committee, and then they discussed it with Gustav. He agrees.
Oh, that's a surprise. How did they persuade him?
It wasn't difficult. They booked his uncle's orchestra. Gustav could see that classical music would be significant in the festival. After that, he was fine about other music and performers being in the program and in the talent evening.
He isn't on the committee, though.
No, but he's important in the musical life of the school. And he works hard at it. Much better to have him supporting the music program than fighting against it.
It was very skillful work by the committee.
I agree. They listened to what Gustav had to say and looked at all sides of the issue, then came up with a solution that worked for everyone.
You make the committee's work sound easy.
Well, it is when it goes right.
And when it doesn't?
They ask for advice, of course. Mr. Simpson has been helping them a lot. Don't you ask for advice when you have a problem?
Yes, of course. I talk to my mom and dad usually. What about you?
I often talk to Lucy. She's good at listening and finding solutions.
I expect that's why she's on the committee. You'd be good on a committee too.
Well, I'm not sure I have all the necessary qualities.
Of course you have, Florence. Anyway, let's fill in these forms.
Good idea. We can hand them in on our way to orchestra practice.
Unit 5, pages 52 and 53. Reading. Champion. Scene 1. The locker room of the school sports centre. Stephen is sitting on a bench, putting things into his sports bag. Paul jogs in.
Hey, Paul. That was a fantastic time you just did.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I was pleased with it.
Mr. Hall was pleased with it too. He said with a fast time like that, you ought to get a place in the national team, no trouble.
Yeah, great. I mean, I hope so. But nothing's ever certain, is it?
No, I suppose it isn't. But I think you can be fairly confident. Well done.
Thanks.
You deserve it. You've been training really hard all season.
Yeah, it's been tough, that's for sure. Still, no pain, no gain, eh?
Maybe, but I don't seem to get anywhere for all my pain. No national team for me.
You're improving, though.
Yes, but my results are nothing like yours. I'm just not as talented as you. Oh, by the way, I brought in the CD of photos and the file of notes for the science project. Nina asked me if I could give them to you today. She was able to locate the last piece of information that we needed, so she wants you to finish your part by next week.
Well, I'll try, but I've got another practice session tomorrow. Oh, well, just put them on my bag, will you? Clumsy.
Sorry.
It's okay, I'll do it.
Oh, here, there's something under the bench. What's this, Paul?
Just something of mine. Here, give it to me.
But you're not supposed to have these. No one is.
What do you mean? Everyone does it.
No, they don't. I don't.
Yes, and look at your results. Do you want to be second best, or do you want to be a champion?
That isn't the choice, is it?
Isn't it? Grow up, Stephen. Anyway, no need to say anything, is there? Is there?
Hi, guys. Fantastic time, Paul. Brilliant. Champion in the making, eh, Steve? It's great for the school, isn't it? Hey, are you two okay? Nothing's the matter, is it?
Scene 2. The school cafeteria the next day. Stephen, Joe, Nina, Amy and Katie are sitting round a table away from other students.
So why didn't you say anything to anyone yesterday?
I knew there was something wrong. It was written all over your face. Why didn't you tell me?
I don't know. It felt like snitching, I suppose.
Well, isn't this something you snitch about? It's cheating, Stephen. It's plain cheating.
I agree. I would have gone straight to Mr. Hall and told him everything.
But think about it, Amy. What would happen to Paul?
He'd be out of the school team, and his dreams of the national team would be shattered.
Well, what of it? He's cheated.
But he lives for sport. His career would be dreadfully damaged. It might never be the same for him again.
He should have thought of that before he started cheating. And then...
Look, I know he's done wrong, but shouldn't we talk to him about it first?
And explain what he's done wrong. He's not a child. He knew what he was doing.
Well, I'm not sure. It's just...
Just what, Stephen?
It's just that I talked to him again after you'd gone, Joe. I'm sure he didn't get into this on his own.
How do you know? Did you ask him?
Well, no, not really. I just asked him why he needed to do it.
And?
He said he wanted to be the best.
I think we should tell Mr. Hall.
We're meeting him this afternoon anyway, to finalise the programme for Sports Day.
If you don't tell him this afternoon, Stephen, I will.
No, it has to be Stephen.
Mr. Hall might not believe me.
That's not a reason for not telling the truth, Stephen.
But Paul was going to get the cup for outstanding achievement and...
For goodness sake, Katie. We can't stand by and let the cup be presented to a cheat. That would be completely deceitful, and I won't do it.
But if I tell, everyone will know, and he won't have a chance to put things right.
OK. So, does he want to put things right? Did you ask him if he would stop?
Yes, I did, but...
But what? Well then.
Reporting him is the only thing that's going to stop him. Can't you see that, Stephen?
But reporting him is going to devastate his career.
And think of the shame.
I know we have to do something, but isn't there another way?
Unit 5, page 57. Grammar in use.
Hi, Rudy. Did I see you talking to Miss Jackson?
Yes, we were having a chat about the art programme. She was wondering where we should put the sculpture exhibition.
Can't it go in the hall or in the foyer?
No, the hall's booked for dance and drama and music. And we've got the painting exhibition in the foyer.
All right. That's a bit tricky.
Well, Miss Jackson wanted to know whether the sculpture exhibition had to be indoors. She wondered if the sculptures might go outside.
That sounds like a brilliant idea.
Yes, I think so. How's your literature programme coming along?
Okay, I think. We've got a poetry competition and storytelling for children. And of course, Eliza Brody is coming.
Really? The Eliza Brody, the famous author. Wow.
I'm just going to email her, actually.
And I'm going to phone Professor Barnes, our eminent archaeologist. He asked if I could let him know how big his audience might be.
It'll be huge, I bet. He's really popular. Hey, where on earth are you going to put him?
Unit 5, page 58. Listening and speaking. Henry Moore was an English sculptor and artist. He was born in Yorkshire in the north of England in 1898. He came from a very poor family and was one of 8 children. His talent for art was spotted at an early age by a teacher at his elementary school. She encouraged him to study art, which he did at secondary school and art college, first in Leeds and then in London. While his parents were proud of his achievements, they felt that it was foolish to pursue a career as an artist. They were sure he would never make much money from his art. How wrong his parents were. By the time he was in his early 30s, Moore was already well known both as a painter and as a sculptor. It was at this time that he met and married Irina Radetzky, a young Russian woman who was studying painting in London. During his lifetime, Henry Moore produced hundreds of works. Some of his sculptures consist of abstract round or oval shapes. At his studio, he had a collection of natural objects, rocks and stones, shells, bones and pieces of wood found on the beach. These were the inspiration for his abstract forms. He also sculpted people, often in family groups. A mother and her baby, or a man, a woman and a child. He started to produce these family groups shortly after his mother died and following the birth of his daughter, Mary. However, Henry Moore is probably most famous for his figures of women. Some are sitting, others are lying down. They are huge, strong, powerful figures. Henry Moore was a very successful, important artist. Today, his huge bronze sculptures can be seen in many places all over the world. By the time he died in 1986, he was also one of the wealthiest artists in the world. In addition, he had a direct influence on generations of younger sculptors, both in Britain and abroad. English World, Level 9, Class Audio, 61, Conversation Focus.
Fantastic! I found the blog of Professor Barnes' dig in Scotland.
Oh?
Yeah, he's coming here, you know.
Is he?
Yes, for the festival, remember? He's going to give a talk about... Kurt, are you listening?
Yes. Sorry, Liam. I was looking at these photos of the Atacama Desert.
The Atacama Desert? Where's that?
South America.
Let's have a look. There doesn't seem to be anything there.
Well, there isn't. That's the point. The air is clean and clear. It's a good place for special telescopes, and there is a huge one there, in the desert. I'd like to go and see it.
Really? I prefer to go to Scotland. I want to visit the excavations. They found an ancient royal palace, you know. Perhaps I could volunteer to work on the dig.
Oh, it's always cold and wet in Scotland.
Not always. Anyway, I'm from Ireland, so I'm used to it. Hello, Mimi.
Hi, Liam. Hello, Kurt. Could you put this poster on the notice board for me? I can't quite reach.
Of course. What's it about?
Eliza Brody's new book. It's being published just before the festival, and she's coming to talk about it.
Oh, what's it called?
Himalayan Adventure. It's set in the Himalayan mountains, you see.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yes, of course. It's such a dramatic place for a story. I'd love to go there and see where it all happens. Wouldn't you?
No.
No? Why ever not?
Too much effort. All that walking uphill.
You're so lazy, Liam. What about you, Kurt?
It's no good asking him. He's off to the Atacama Desert.
The Atacama? Oh, how interesting.
Yes, but the Himalayas sound interesting too.
Oh, they are. And you must come and hear Eliza Brody talk about her book.
Of course, Mimi. It sounds great.
We wouldn't miss it for anything.
See you later, anyway.
Bye, Mimi. You're such a tease, Liam.
Me? What did I say?
Unit 6, pages 62 and 63. Reading.
Karen Rivers, winner of the Young Travel Writer Award, gives her personal view of a city to which she is a frequent visitor.
Istanbul, a city of two continents. At the eastern end of Europe, where it is separated from Asia by a short, narrow channel of water, there is a vast and fascinating city. On either side of the Bosphorus stands Istanbul, the largest city in Turkey and one of the largest cities in the world. Sometimes called the Paris of the East and the City of the Seven Hills, this vibrant city, where ancient and modern stand side by side, has for centuries been known as a crossing point where East meets West. So narrow is the Bosphorus that it seems more like a river running through a great city.
Take a boat trip along it and you'll see houses, cafes, hotels and restaurants crowding down to the water's edge on either side of you. You would never guess that the two suspension bridges spanning the channel link two continents. You would never guess that the Bosphorus connects two great seas, the Black Sea and the Aegean. The European side is the older part, and the financial district is on that side too. Land and houses are expensive, so lots of residents live in Asia and work in Europe. If you live in Istanbul, just going to work or college can mean changing continents twice a day. I've always found it one of the most fascinating aspects of the city. Unfortunately, there is no road tunnel under the Bosphorus. The bridges get completely clogged with vehicles during the rush hour and the ferries are crowded. Perhaps the city's commuters don't find changing continents quite so fascinating. Traffic is one of my least favourite things about Istanbul, and the roads are far too busy for my liking. In the large and bustling Taksim Square, you take your life in your hands when you walk across. Cars approach dangerously fast from all directions, horns blaring and smelling like old oil cans. Fortunately, there are plenty of areas in the city where there is little or no traffic at all. So, whether you want to shop until you drop, view the historic sights, or relax in a courtyard cafe, there's somewhere that will be just right for you. In Istanbul, you can't ignore the history. Its magnificent structures are of real architectural splendour and a visual inspiration, especially if you have a camera to hand. By the end of your visit, you will have taken hundreds of stunning photos. The domes and soaring arches of the Hagia Sophia impress every visitor. This church, which became a mosque and is now a museum, was built 1,500 years ago. I find it truly uplifting and is one of my favourite buildings. The city itself was established 1,000 years earlier by King Baizaz, for whom it was named Byzantium. So it continued for 900 years until conquered by the Roman Emperor Constantine and renamed Constantinople. Sultan Mehmed II, whose armies besieged and captured the city more than 500 years ago, made it the capital of the Ottoman Empire, which lasted until the Republic of Turkey was established by Kemal Atatürk in 1923. The city became known by its old name of Istanbul. Ankara, which is in central Turkey, became the capital of the new republic. With such a long and varied history of empire, power and ambition, it is not surprising that Istanbul has such a wealth of palaces, churches, mosques, towers and fortresses with which to dazzle any visitor. The most well-known, the Topkapi Palace, the Hagia Sophia and the Sultan Ahmed Mosque are all close to each other in the old part of the city, so you can visit them all in a day. History may be all around you in Istanbul, but one of the best things about the city today is its modern outlook. The average age of its population is 23, so it's a city of young people with ideas and aspirations. It has a new modern art museum and hosts an annual international film festival, music and opera festivals, ballet and theatre. During the long hot summer, the city's many cafes and restaurants are cool oases in which to meet and chat. They still buzz with life on winter days when one of Istanbul's frequent fogs descends or a heavy snowfall covers the streets. For anyone whose passion is shopping, Istiklal Avenue has everything you could want to buy and more. This 3-kilometre pedestrianised street is said to attract 1 million visitors a day, but I'm not fond of it. International brands are rather too prominent. My favourite place to shop and eat out is the Grand Bazaar. It's the oldest covered market in the world. To me, it's irresistible, like a giant Aladdin's cave, beautiful and full of treasures. That's not a bad way to describe the whole city. There's something wonderful round every corner. If you get the chance, go and see for yourself. Unit 7, page 73. Conversation focus.
Excellent! A great rehearsal, everyone. Well done.
Thanks, Gustav. See you next week.
No, tomorrow, Giorgio. We've got extra rehearsals for Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet? That's a play by Shakespeare. We're not doing a play.
You've forgotten, Giorgio. The film club is showing Romeo and Juliet at the festival, and we're going to perform some music from the soundtrack before it starts.
Of course, the music for the film was not written by a classical composer.
No, but it's lovely music, Gustav, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy it.
Well, perhaps.
Anyway, it's a really good film. I used to think Shakespeare's plays were boring. Then I saw this film, and it really changed my mind. It all comes alive when you watch actors playing the parts.
That's true. I didn't like books by Charles Dickens. Then I saw the film of Oliver Twist, and I really liked it.
I've seen that too. It made me want to read some more books by Dickens.
Ah, good. Classic fiction should be read. Just watching the film is too easy.
Well, it's a different experience, isn't it?
Shakespeare's work should be performed, of course, but Dickens wrote novels for people to read.
Yes, but he performed dramatic readings from his novels. Did you know that, Gustav? He used to read aloud and play all the characters himself.
Yes, I did know that, of course. But he read all the narrative as well, you know, and his wonderful descriptions. It's important to read those, too.
I agree with you, Gustav. But if people become interested in reading classic fiction because they see a film or watch it on TV, I think that's a good thing.
I do too. I saw one of Eliza Brody's books as a TV film. Fantastic! I've read all her books now.
But she's not a classic writer, Giorgio.
She might be one day, Gustav. Like the River Boys might be classic musicians.
I doubt it.
I thought you decided you like them, Gustav. You've bought a ticket for their concert, haven't you?
Well, I'm going to see them, but it doesn't mean they're classic, or even good.
No, but it might mean that you enjoy them.
We'll see about that.
Oh, come on, Gustav. I bet you end up dancing wildly like everyone else.
I can't imagine that.
Unit 7, pages 74 and 75. Reading. A New Year Ball.
17-year-old Natasha Rostov is visiting St. Petersburg with her parents, the Count and Countess Rostov, and her cousin Sonia. The family has been sent an invitation to a special event. In this extract, the writer recounts Natasha's excitement and her wish that all the family should look their very best.
On the 31st of December, on the eve of the new year of 1810, an old grandee of Catherine's day was giving a ball to see out the old year. The diplomatic corps and the emperor were to be present. The grandee's well-known mansion on the English Quay blazed with innumerable lights. Police were stationed at the brilliantly lit, red-carpeted entrance. Not only gendarmes, but the chief of police himself and dozens of officers. Carriages drove away, and new ones kept arriving with red-liveried footmen and grooms in plumed hats. From the carriages emerged men wearing uniform, stars and ribbons, while ladies in satin and ermine cautiously descended the carriage steps, which were let down for them with a clatter, and swiftly and noiselessly passed along the red bays into the porch. Already a third of the guests had arrived, but the Rostovs, who were to be present, were still hurrying to get dressed. Natasha was going to her first grand ball. She had got up at 8 that morning and had been in a fever of excitement and energy all day. All her energies from the moment she woke had been directed to the one aim of ensuring that they all, herself, Mama and Sonia, should look their very best. Sonia and the Countess put themselves entirely in her hands. Sonia was nearly ready, so was the Countess, but Natasha, who had bustled about helping everyone, was less advanced. She was still sitting before the looking-glass with a peignoir thrown over her thin shoulders. Sonia, on the last stage, stood in the middle of the room, fastening on a final bow and hurting her dainty finger as she pressed the pin that squeaked as it went through the ribbon. "Not like that, Sonia, not like that!" cried Natasha, turning her head and clutching with both hands at her hair, which the maid, who was dressing it, had not time to let go. "That bow isn't right. Come here." Sonia sat down and Natasha pinned the ribbon differently. "If you please, miss, I can't get on like this," said the maid, still holding Natasha's hair. "Oh, goodness gracious, wait then." "There, that's better, Sonia." "Will you soon be ready?" came the Countess's voice. "It is nearly 10. "Coming, coming. What about you, Mamma?" "I have only my cap to pin on." "Don't do it without me," cried Natasha. "You won't do it right." "Yes, but it's 10 o'clock." It had been agreed they should arrive at the ball at 10:30. But Natasha had still to get her dress on before they called for Madame Poronsky. When her hair was done, Natasha, in a short petticoat from under which her dancing slippers showed and her mother's dressing jacket, ran up to Sonia, inspected her critically, and then flew on to her mother. Turning the Countess's head this way and that, she fastened on the cap, gave the grey hair a hasty kiss, and scurried back to the maids who were shortening her skirt. The cause of the delay was Natasha's skirt, which was too long. 2 maids were at work, turning up the hem and hurriedly biting off the threads. A third, with her mouthful of pins, was running backwards and forwards between the Countess and Sonia, while a fourth held the gossamer garment high on one uplifted hand. "Hurry up, Mavra, darling." "Hand me that thimble, please, miss." "Aren't you ever going to be ready?" asked the Count, coming to the door. "Here you are, still perfuming yourselves. Madame Poronsky must be tired of waiting." "Ready, miss," said the maid, lifting up the shortened tulle skirt with 2 fingers. Natasha began putting on the dress. In a minute! Don't come in, Papa!" she cried to her father at the door, her face eclipsed in a cloud of tulle. Sonia slammed the door to, but a moment later they let the Count in. He was wearing a blue swallowtail coat, stockings and buckled shoes, and was perfumed and pomaded. "Oh, Papa, how nice you look! Lovely!" exclaimed Natasha, as she stood in the middle of the room, stroking out the folds of her tulle. "If you please, miss, allow me," said the maid, who was on her knees pulling the skirt straight and shifting the pins from one side of her mouth to the other with her tongue. "You can say what you like," cried Sonia in despairing tones as she surveyed Natasha's dress. "You can say what you like. It is still too long." Natasha stepped back to see herself in the pier glass. The dress was too long. "Really, madam, it is not at all too long," said Mavra, crawling on her knees after her young lady. "Well, if it's too long, we'll tack it up. We can do it in a second," said the determined Dunyasha. At that moment, the Countess in her cap and velvet gown crept shyly into the room. "Ooh, my beauty," cried the Count. "She looks nicer than any of you." He would have embraced her, but blushing, she stepped back for fear of getting her gown rumpled. "Mamma, your cap wants to go more to one side," said Natasha. "I'll alter it for you." And she darted forward so that the maids who were tacking up her skirt could not follow her fast enough, and a piece of the tulle got torn off. "Mercy, what was that? Really, it was not my fault." "Never mind, I'll put a stitch in it. It won't show," said Dunyasha. My beauty, my little queen, exclaimed the old nurse, coming in at the door. And little Sonia too. Ah, the beauties! At last, at 10:15, they seated themselves in the carriage and were on their way.
Glossary. Grandee. An older person who has done important work in government. Diplomatic Corps. The group of people who represent the governments of other countries. English Quay. An elegant street in St. Petersburg. Gendarme. A policeman. A dozen. A group of 12 of something. Peignoir. A thin robe like a dressing gown. Thimble. A metal cover that fits on a finger to protect it when sewing. Swallowtail coat. An old-fashioned kind of coat. Pomaded. With hair dressed in oil or ointment. Pier glass. A tall mirror for looking at the whole body. Nurse. A servant who looks after the young children of a rich family.
Unit 7, page 79. Grammar in use. Ramon Acosta, stop! You know running is forbidden in school.
Sorry, Miss Jackson.
Where are you going so fast?
I'm looking for Todd. I've got to find him. There's been a disaster.
Oh dear. What's happened?
Eliza Brody, the author, has cancelled. She can't come to the festival. I've just had an email from her.
That is bad news. Did she give a reason?
Personal problems.
That's disappointing. Isn't there anyone else we can ask?
I don't know. It's such short notice. And her name's on the posters. And what about the tickets? We've sold loads of them.
Calm down, Ramon. Don't panic. That won't get us anywhere.
But I don't know what to do.
Leave it with me for the moment. I'm going to make a phone call. Perhaps a friend of mine can help.
Really?
Well, it's a long shot, but you never know. Go and explain the situation to the committee. I saw them in the library. And, Ramon?
Yes, Miss Jackson?
Don't run.
Oh.
Unit 7, page 80. Listening and speaking.
It's a disaster! A complete disaster!
Calm down, Ramon. We've still got time to find another author.
Who? Tell me that. Who?
Look, here's Miss Jackson. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hello, everyone. Well, I've just spent a very interesting half hour on the phone.
Yes, and?
I've got some good news for you. I've found another author who will be able to speak at the festival.
Really? That's fantastic!
Who is it, Miss Jackson?
Well, I'm sure you've all heard of Anthony Holt.
Anthony Holt? The Anthony Holt? The famous science fiction writer?
The man who wrote Black Star?
That's my favorite book. It's amazing.
I agree, Lucy. It is absolutely amazing. So, yes, Anthony Holt, the famous author of Black Star, will be very happy to appear at the festival if you would like him to.
Wow! How on earth did you manage this, Miss Jackson?
Well, as I told Ramon, Anthony Holt is an old friend of mine. We were at university together. I must say, I always knew he would be successful.
But he's so well known. He must be very busy.
Yes, he is. Extremely busy. He's in the middle of writing a new book and he's going to America next month. It seems Hollywood is very interested in making Black Star into a film.
Wow.
Cool.
Wow.
But he'll be back in time for the festival.
Fantastic. That's amazing.
I think the first thing you must do is write and thank him.
Yes, of course.
I'll give you his email address.
We'll have to announce this on the website. Todd, that's your job.
It's too late to change the posters, I'm afraid.
Perhaps you can add stickers to them.
That's a brilliant idea, Miss Jackson.
Okay, let's get to work. There's loads to do.
This is so exciting. Thank you so much, Miss Jackson. Oh, Anthony Holt. Oh.
Oh, this is awesome. This is gonna be so cool.
Unit 8, pages 84 and 85. Reading.
Human achievement. Spaceflight.
Spaceflight testing.
The first living creatures in space were flies. They were sent by the USA to the edge of space in a rocket in 1947 and were recovered alive. A succession of test flights involving animals came after, including dogs, cats, monkeys, chimpanzees, guinea pigs, frogs, tortoises, rats, and various fish. Unfortunately, not all came back alive.
First human spaceflights.
Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin was the first man in space, and he orbited Earth on the 12th of April 1961. The first woman in space was Russian cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova on the 16th of June 1963. The first man on the moon was USA astronaut Neil Armstrong in 1969.
Spaceflight development.
Following the first flights, different space transportation systems were developed using rocket engines. One system, the US Shuttle program, ran from 1981 to 2011 and flew 135 missions, during which satellites and probes were launched.
How does a rocket engine work?
If you blow a balloon full of air, gas, then immediately let it go, the balloon will fly away from you as the gas spurts out of the opening at a very fast rate. A rocket engine for launching into space works in the same way, but on a much bigger scale, and uses fuel to make gas. 1. First, the fuels are combined in the combustion chamber. 2. A chemical reaction creates a controlled explosion. 3. The explosion produces burning gas, which is forced out of the nozzle at very high speed. 4. The energy created by the burning gas pushes the rocket upwards.
How was the shuttle launched?
The shuttle stack was made up of two solid rocket boosters, SRBs, the external tank, ET, and the orbital spacecraft. The SRBs helped the shuttle to lift off. The ET contained the fuel needed to launch into space. Fully fueled, the shuttle stack weighed 6 million kilograms, so it needed a lot of energy to take off. The orbital spacecraft had 3 main engines. These engines, combined with the SRBs, created sufficient energy to lift the shuttle off the ground and into orbit through a sequence of controlled stages. At the start of the launch sequence, 30 seconds before liftoff, the spacecraft's computers took over control. 6 seconds before liftoff, the shuttle's main engines ignited one at a time, 0.12 seconds apart, and built up to more than 90% of their maximum thrust. 3 seconds before liftoff, the main engines were in liftoff position. At the moment of liftoff, the SRBs were ignited. From this point, the launch was irreversible. The supports that held the stack to the tower were broken and the shuttle lifted up and off the launch pad. As the shuttle rose, it turned slowly to the right and gradually took a more horizontal flight path. After 1 minute, the shuttle engines were at maximum thrust in order to maintain the liftoff. After 2 minutes of flight, the SRBs had lifted the shuttle to an altitude of 45 kilometers. They then separated from the orbiter and fuel tank. Parachutes opened out from the SRBs and they fell to the ocean, about 140 kilometers off the coast of Florida. They were recovered by the US Navy so that they could be reused for the next shuttle launch. In the final launch stage, the main engines slowed down in order to stop the shuttle from going too fast and breaking up. After slowing down, they were shut down. The ET then separated from the orbiter and re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, burning up on re-entry. The orbiter's engines then fired up to take the spacecraft into low orbit around the Earth and carry out its mission.
Future space flights.
Many nations are involved in space exploration, and astronauts from 15 different countries have visited the ISS. Every year, rockets are launched from sites around the world undertaking experiments, researching, and carrying probes and satellites into space. By the middle of this century, thousands of new space missions will have been completed. We can only guess at what they will have achieved.
Unit 8, page 89. Grammar in use.
Okay, let's get on with the meeting. We need to check all the last-minute details. For example, have we got enough helpers?
More than enough. Loads of people filled in the forms.
Great. What about refreshments? Lucy, that's you.
Everything's under control. The school canteen is providing drinks and Zafira's family is bringing over masses of delicious Lebanese snacks from their restaurant.
Brilliant.
What about first aid, Todd? Suppose someone has an accident.
Miss Jones and Mr. Day from the science department are qualified first aiders. They're helping us out.
I've been wondering about the end of the festival. Don't we need something spectacular to finish it off?
Lee, that new Chinese student, said he could probably sort something out. I'll let you know what he comes up with.
Here's Rudy, late as usual.
Disaster! Disaster!
Rudy, whatever's the matter?
It's the sculptures. They were outside in the garden and they've all disappeared.
What? They can't have been stolen, surely.
Yes, maybe thieves have made off with them.
Well, if that's happened, it is a disaster.
Unit 8, page 90. Listening and speaking.
Here we are, Lisa. Welcome to our home.
Thanks. It's so good to be here.
What a terrible journey you had.
Fancy losing your mobile like that. Do you think someone stole it?
I don't know. Maybe. The boy sitting opposite me on the train looked very suspicious.
Not a very good start to your holiday.
No. I ought to ring up Mum and let her know that I've arrived safely. Could I possibly use your phone?
Yes, of course. It's in the sitting room. Help yourself.
Thanks.
I'll show you to your room first. It's upstairs.
OK.
Bob, would you mind carrying Lisa's bags upstairs? They're so heavy.
Not at all. Hand them over. Oh, they are heavy.
And when you've settled in, we'll have dinner. It's all ready.
What are we having, Brenda?
Roast chicken.
My favourite.
Aunt Brenda, I'm sorry, but I've stopped eating meat. Do you mind if I don't eat the chicken?
Of course not, dear. I can easily find something else for you.
Thanks. Sorry to be a nuisance.
It's no problem at all, Lisa. Don't worry.
It was such a long, hot journey. Would it be okay if I had a shower before dinner?
Yes, of course. I'll show you where the bathroom is.
And could I have a cold drink, please?
By all means. You must be so thirsty. Water or fruit juice?
Fruit juice, please, Uncle Bob. Can I have apple juice?
I'm afraid not. We haven't got apple, but I've got some lovely mango juice.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Unit 9, page 95. Conversation focus.
Hi, Florence. Can I use the photocopier?
I'm not using it, Liam.
OK, thanks. Hey, you've left this sheet of paper in the photocopier, though.
It's not mine.
It's got your name on it. Duval, look.
Let's see. Oh, it's Lucy's. It's the arrangements for the disabled children at the festival concert.
You mean some children are coming who can't walk?
Yes, that's right. They use wheelchairs. They each have a volunteer with them.
Really? Why?
In case there's a fire or something and everyone has to leave the hall. The volunteers have to know how to get the children out quickly. They've got to practice at lunchtime tomorrow.
It seems like a lot of trouble to go to.
Do you think so? If it means they can come to the concert, I don't think it's much trouble at all.
OK, you're very sure about it.
I am. We've got a disabled cousin in France, you see. So I think equal opportunities are important. Isn't there anything that's important to you?
Yes, of course.
Like what?
Well, animal rights.
Animal rights?
Yes, you know, treating animals well. Not hurting them in scientific experiments, for example.
I see. Don't you think people are more important?
People can speak for themselves. When did you last hear a horse complain at being hit?
I take your point. All the same, some people don't have much of a voice.
How do you mean?
Poor people, for instance. Who takes any notice of them?
That's true. Lots of poor farmers have no land to work on because it's been sold to food companies who use machines.
So the farmers get poorer still.
Correct. And the poorest people are most affected by climate change. Now that really is important.
I agree. It's going to be a big problem over the next century.
It's one that we'll have to solve.
Yes, but not before the next lesson though, Liam. I've got to go.
OK. Nice talking to you, Florence.
And you, Liam. I enjoy a good discussion. See you later.
Unit 9, pages 96 and 97. Reading. The age of the automobile.
The car has become the most popular means of transport in the history of the world. Some people could not imagine life without a car. Others say that the world would be better off without them. Since Carl Benz introduced the first automobile powered by a gasoline engine in 1885, many people see a car as a necessity in their lives rather than a luxury. Benz began selling his motor car in 1888. In the 5-year period from 1888 to 1893, 25 were sold. In 2007, when sales were at their peak, 54,920,317 cars were sold worldwide. Certainly, owning a car has many advantages, but shouldn't we be concerned about the disadvantages? The number of cars on the road is a real problem, and as that number increases, the problem gets worse. The first,
And probably the greatest problem is that of pollution. The fuel exhaust fumes from a car's engine contain many chemicals or emissions such as carbon dioxide, CO2, sulfur dioxide, and lead. 900 million metric tons of CO2 is released into the atmosphere every year. This is a major contributor to air pollution, causing an increase in greenhouse gases and a decrease in the ozone layer. Greenhouse gases build up in the atmosphere and act like a blanket, trapping the sun's heat and causing the planet to warm up. We can see the results of this in more wildfires, extreme heat waves, and the melting of the polar ice caps, causing sea levels to rise. The ozone layer protects us from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays. Car emissions contribute to the thinning of the ozone layer that decreases our protection. In the USA, for example, car emissions are the second largest source of CO2. It is madness to think we can just go on producing more and more cars and ignore the damage being done. Cars' emissions also cause severe health problems. When emissions are breathed in, they are carried by the bloodstream around the body and can do serious damage. They are particularly harmful to the respiratory system. It has been estimated that in the UK, 24,000 premature deaths every year are caused by air pollution. In Holland, a study was carried out on 632 children aged 7 to 11. It was found that respiratory problems worsened as air pollution increased. Further health problems, such as diabetes and obesity, occur because of lack of exercise. Obesity in children has been increasing, and part of the cause is that they are taken everywhere by car. Walking and cycling are much healthier options. Many local councils and schools are working together to ensure that walking or cycling to school can be a safe, enjoyable experience. Surely, if parents are concerned about their children's health, they should leave the car at home and encourage their children to use their own 2 legs. A further disadvantage of the car is the dependence on oil. Already, sensitive environmental areas of the world have been invaded by the oil industry, and drilling has started as supplies elsewhere begin to dry up. The impact on the Arctic is a real concern. P.B W.B, Professor of Ocean Physics at Cambridge University, has spent a long time there studying the problem. He said, "If there is a serious oil spill under ice in the Arctic, it will be very hard, if not impossible, to stop it becoming an environmental catastrophe." Wouldn't we be foolish to ignore his warning? Just look at what happened at the Deepwater Horizon platform in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. 5 million barrels of harmful, dirty black oil were released into the sea, and it took 3 months to get it under control. Environmentalists said that the oil spill had happened the year before due to greed and carelessness. Have we learnt nothing? Ben Eilif, a polar campaigner for Greenpeace, said that a spill in the Arctic would essentially make dealing with something like Deepwater Horizon look almost straightforward. The Guardian newspaper held a poll in August 2010 asking, should drilling for oil be banned in sensitive environmental areas? A huge 85.7% of people who took part said that it should be banned and those areas should be protected at all costs. I would like to know how many of that 85.7% actually do something about it by giving up their cars, or at least using them as little as possible. There are many people, of course, who will argue that having a car is a necessity. People who live in remote rural communities, for example. Without a car, how would they get from place to place? They do have a point, but the solution lies not in every member of the family having a car and using it several times a day, but in an improved, cheap, and efficient public transport service. Governments are always talking about improving public transport, but talking is about all they do. If the problem of the increasing number of cars on the road is to be addressed, then money has to be spent on better bus and rail systems. You will be told that one of the major advantages is individual freedom. You can get in your car whenever you like and travel to wherever you like. You can go door to door without worrying about whether the train is on time or whether you will have to stand in the freezing cold at a bus stop. It sounds like a very good argument, but is it? When you consider the harm that the motor car is doing to the planet, people's health and the natural environment, the congestion in our towns and cities, the horrific motorway pile-ups, ask yourselves this: is it really such a hardship to have to wait for a bus or a train to come along? The motor car seems to be here to stay, at least until the oil runs out. But there are things we must do to slow down the damage. Car sharing, greater use of public transport, and greater investment in alternatives such as electric cars would greatly help the situation. Doing nothing is not an option. The problems are here now and they are increasing. Next time you are about to get in your car, stop and think, do I really have to drive? Consider the alternatives: a brisk walk, an energetic cycle, or use of public transport would be beneficial to you and the planet. Unit 9, page 101. Grammar in use.
Hi guys! All set? The gates open any minute now.
The Super Silver Jazz Band is already playing by the entrance.
And the traditional dancers are waiting backstage in the hall.
Have you seen those gorgeous purple Indian costumes?
I noticed the sculptures are back in the garden.
Yes, they weren't stolen after all. They were in the gym.
What? How come?
Mr. Collins, the caretaker, moved them. He was worried they would be damaged by last night's thunderstorm.
How on earth did he manage to move that huge metal horse?
And why is there a massive red and yellow tent on the playing field?
That's for the kids' circus skills this afternoon.
There really is something for everyone.
Professor Barnes is giving his talk this evening. Art and archaeology.
And then, of course, after that, it's the River Boys.
Wow, what a way to end the first day of the festival.
Okay, guys, time to take our places. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck.
Come on.
Unit 9, page 102. Listening and speaking.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I say what a pleasure it is to have been invited to this marvellous new festival, and also how delighted I am to have such a splendid audience this evening. I'm going to be talking to you about one of the greatest archaeological events in recent history, the discovery of the tomb of the Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. The discovery was made in 1922 by the British archaeologist Howard Carter. Carter had been working for 5 years in the Valley of the Kings, searching for Tutankhamun's tomb. Running out of money, he was about to admit defeat, abandon the search, and return to England. However, he unexpectedly came across some stone steps beneath the desert sand, and these steps led down to Tutankhamun's tomb. What he discovered inside the tomb was astonishing. Almost everyone today is familiar with Tutankhamun's famous death mask, but in addition to this, and of course the body of King Tutankhamun himself, there were over 3,000 objects in the tomb. Statues, beds, chairs, chariots, boats, necklaces, earrings, children's toys. If you ever have the chance to go to the museum in Cairo to see this extraordinary exhibition, please do. You will not believe your eyes. News of these discoveries spread quickly. People were astonished by what Howard Carter had found. Soon, people in Europe and America became totally fascinated by all things Egyptian. They went wild for it. So much so that Egyptian style, or at least the style of the pharaohs, began to influence the style of Europe and America in the 1920s and 30s. Clothes, jewelry, furniture, and architecture were all heavily influenced by the discoveries in Egypt. Let me show you some examples. This house was built in 1929. Doesn't it remind you of an Egyptian temple? Here is a jacket made in England in 1922. It shows scenes of Egyptian life, such as you might see on the walls of a tomb. Here is the Chrysler Building in New York, which was completed in 1930. Notice the patterns at the top of the building. They represent the sun, and of course, the sun was extremely important in the ancient Egyptian religion. Let's look inside the Chrysler Building. These are the doors of a lift. Could they be more Egyptian? The design of smaller items, too, were influenced by ancient Egypt. Egyptian-style jewelry became extremely fashionable. Items for the home, such as vases and clocks, all showed the Egyptian influence. Look at this. You might not recognize it, but it's a radio. I find it quite astonishing that the discovery of the tomb of a young man, and he was young, he was only 19 when he died, could have such an incredible influence on the everyday lives of people 3,000 years later. Extraordinary, quite extraordinary. Perhaps we should have a closer look at the Chrysler Building in New York. I must say, it is one of my favorite buildings anywhere in the world. Did you know it was completed in only 2 years? The builders worked at a frantic pace.
Unit 10, pages 106 and 107. Reading. Leo.
I remember the first time I saw Leo. I was just 14, and it was the beginning of my 3rd year at Sunhill School. It was a freezing cold day, and I was hanging around in the coldest corner of the playground, trying not to be noticed as usual, and feeling miserable. My first 2 years at the school had been disastrous, at least I thought so. I was younger and smaller than the rest of the boys, and cleverer than most of them, though I tried not to show it. I had spent 2 years trying to hide my ideas, my thoughts, my interests, and, in fact, myself from Danny Liddle, the source of my misery, from whom I was hiding on that wintry day in the coldest corner of the playground. Danny was a tough guy, large and imposing. He bought his clothes in the smartest shops, he got his hair cut in the latest style, and it looked good. He was cool, he was a leader, in a way. Most boys didn't like him, but they let him do his own thing because they didn't dare to stop him or didn't know how to. His influence in the class was strong, and the atmosphere was intimidating. At the beginning, he didn't notice me, but after I came first in class tests a few times, and then regularly, I was aware his eye was on me. One day, he called to me across the playground. I hesitated in alarm, and he didn't like it. It looked like defiance. I'm surprised he didn't recognize fear. He came over with one of his friends and glared at me, demanding respect, but all he got was the trembling glance of a frightened rabbit. He didn't mistake that. I was clearly someone he could use to stay on top. I could see him thinking it all through. He wasn't intelligent, but he was cunning. He got into the habit of making nasty remarks about me within the hearing of other boys. It might be what I was wearing, or my old-fashioned school bag that my grandmother had given me. "Hey, Robbie, don't you know what an idiot you look?" he'd say. Or he'd tell everyone how pointless my latest project was. Nobody stood up for me, and I didn't stand up for myself. Danny could say what he liked and nobody would contradict him. Although I tried to keep out of his way, he always hunted me down. Whenever I did well, he would be there beside me, jeering and sneering to the amusement of his friends. Although I was the most successful student in the class, nobody looked up to me because Danny didn't. He controlled the way everyone else treated me. However much I succeeded, I felt a failure. Nothing compensated for feeling like a helpless victim. That's how it was when Leo arrived. When I first saw him, he was casually chatting to other boys, friendly and relaxed, looking like he enjoyed life and hadn't a care in the world. He was tall and strongly built. He didn't look as though he could ever be pushed around by someone like Danny, which was interesting, as one of the boys he was talking to was Danny. Danny was laughing. He glanced across the playground at me and said something to Leo and laughed again. Leo looked in my direction. My heart sank. 2 of them to deal with, I thought. I can't bear it. The bell went for the start of school. I'd have to go in. I'd have to walk past them. I knew what was going to happen. Danny was going to show this new boy how to treat me. He would demonstrate his power to humiliate me in front of everyone. As I came level with them, Danny said, "This is the clown who carries his books in a kid's bag. He belongs in the kindergarten." I felt my throat tighten and the tears start at the back of my eyes. I swallowed hard. I just wanted to get past. Danny was barring my way, waiting for an approving laugh from his new friend. It didn't come. Instead, Leo just said, "Danny says it's your project on display in the hall." I looked at him, waiting for the derisive comment. Leo said, "I've seen it. It's great. Really interesting." That was all. I stared at him. Danny stared at him. Then we all moved silently inside. Leo's arrival had a stunning impact on our class. Not straight away, but little by little, the atmosphere changed. Danny's silly comments in class one day didn't get an admiring laugh from the other boys. One day I noticed that it wasn't just me who was answering questions, but other boys were joining in. I no longer felt ridiculous for producing good work. When Danny tried to assert himself by mocking me, Leo would turn up at my side. He didn't do anything. He didn't say anything. He just looked at Danny, and Danny would shuffle off. I had thought so many times about what I'd do to Danny if I was bigger. Leo was bigger, but he didn't do any of them. You might have thought that 2 giants would need to fight it out. Eventually, I realised that Leo didn't need to use his strength like that. Just being the way he was enough to make Danny back down. Danny had used his strength to intimidate because, deep down, he was afraid that people wouldn't respect him, and because of that, they never had. His power vanished like morning mist. Leo wasn't the cleverest, and he wasn't the best sportsman or artist, but everything he did to the best of his ability. Gradually, I realised that was what gave him confidence. One warm spring day, sitting in a sunny corner of the playground, I told him what a difference he had made to me. He just smiled and said, "Everybody should have the freedom to do the best they can in the best way they can. Nobody should take that away from anyone. It's a firm belief of mine. You've got talent, so let it shine." After that, I started to believe in myself. My expectations for the future changed. Of course, Danny never bothered me again. Everything I have become, and Everything I have achieved, I owe to Leo.
Unit 10, page 111. Grammar in use.
Oh, what an amazing week!
You're right. It's been fantastic.
And tonight's ballet performance was the perfect way to end the festival.
The sound system broke down in rehearsal, but we managed to get it fixed in time, thank goodness.
I was surprised to see Ava on the stage.
One of the dancers had an injury, so Ava stood in for her.
Her dress was fabulous.
She got it made especially for tonight.
Didn't Miss Jackson look lovely?
Yes, she did. She'd had her hair done and everything.
Congratulations, everybody! The festival's been a huge success.
It certainly has. Well done, everybody.
We should get a photo taken of all the committee.
Good idea. Come on, let's go outside. It's time for the grand finale.
Thanks to Lee and his family.
His father is so generous. He had the fireworks flown over from Hong Kong, especially for tonight. They're going to be spectacular.
And they're starting now. Come on, let's go and watch.
Oh, yeah, come on, let's go.
Look at that.
Unit 10, page 112. Listening and speaking. Hello, love. Are you feeling any better? Have you still got that stomachache?
It's a bit better, I think.
That's good. These stomachaches are happening more and more often, aren't they? I'm starting to get a bit worried about you. Do you think we ought to go and see the doctor?
The doctor? No. It's only a stomachache, isn't it?
Well, it's stopping you from going to school, and that's not good, is it? This is such an important year at school, and we all want you to do well. You've missed 2 days already this week.
It's okay, Mum. I can make up the work.
Katie?
Yeah?
Is there anything that's worrying you? You've been so quiet recently. Not your usual happy self at all.
I'm okay, Mum. Really, I am.
Are you sure, love? I may be wrong, but I'm sure I heard you crying last night. If you've got a problem, you can tell me, you know. I'm your mum. You can tell me anything. Katie? Come on. Tell me all about it.
Well, it's just... At school, you see... Sometimes there's this...
There's this what, love?
There's this girl. Her name's Janice.
Right. And?
Well, she's horrible, Mum. She's horrible to me.
Oh, Katie. What's she been doing?
She makes nasty comments all the time.
About what?
Oh, everything. My shoes, my school bag, my glasses, my hair, everything. She laughs at me all the time.
Oh, Katie, you poor thing.
And the trouble is, a lot of the other girls just copy her, so they're horrible to me as well. I can't do anything right. If I do a good piece of work or if I get a question right, she just sneers at me and calls me the teacher's pet. And if I make a mistake, she laughs and says I'm stupid.
Well, she's the stupid one, not you.
I don't know what to do, Mum.
If I were you, I'd just ignore her.
I've tried, Mum. I've tried not to take any notice, but it's really hard.
Well then, we've got to let the school know what's going on. This girl has got to be stopped.
How can we do that?
Well, I suggest that we make an appointment with Mrs. Martin, the head teacher, and you and I will go and talk.